Viewers, good morning and welcome to Inside Tobago, where we go beyond the beaches. Today is a Thursday, the 6th of May, 2026. And of course, lovely Lavian, your host, good morning. So happy to be here before you. You're wondering, Lavian, you're outside this morning. Yes, I am. The sun is shining down on me. It's a beautiful island of Tobago, and I'm standing on the jetty for the Bonaccord Lagoon. This protected area, but also this area where boat and reef tour operators launch out daily and they take tourists to see our beautiful Book Reef. But so much has been happening, and especially since that fateful day on Wednesday, April 8th, that was 2026, when young, innocent Angelica Jogi lost her life in a jet ski accident. Here we are with so much happening and surrounding the industry. Destination Tobago now has a question mark behind it. We were actually invited along with the other media houses to a meeting that was hosted by Shamfa Kojo-Lewis. That is the political leader, newly elected political leader of the PNM Tobago Council, along with the boat and reef tour operators who invited her to have a meeting with them. And she would have written a letter to Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and the secretary for the Division of Tourism, Assembly Member Zorisha Hackett, to come and have this meeting with them where they say they are not being consulted on issues, on policy, on anything moving forward regarding the industry. So we're gonna hear what they have to say, their take on everything that is happening. What are your views? Drop your views in the comments. I want to thank you so much for joining us here this morning on Inside Tobago, on the Social Gazette, and on Now TV Tobago, where it is our pleasure indeed to bring you all things Tobago, bring you all the information that you need, and we keep you updated. We are going to go for a quick break right now, but we're going to be right back with lots more right here on Inside Tobago.
Welcome to Now TV Tobago, your new home for reliable, credible, and in-depth storytelling. We're here to share Tobago stories with accuracy, integrity, and with the context you deserve. From current affairs and politics to culture, community, festivals, our heritage, sports, and climate, we bring to you the stories that matter and the people who make Tobago truly one of a kind. When you need reliable information, you can count on us. Now TV Tobago. Clarity, context, connection. Your Tobago, your stories now.
I am currently at the Canaan Bonaccord Community Center, and behind me are two empty seats. They were reserved for Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and the Secretary for Tourism, Zorisha Hackett. They were invited by the reef and tour operators, the boat tour operators, right here to have a meeting at 9 a.m., to have a consultation, to have a conversation. On April 28th, the Division of Environment, Climate Resilience and Energy sent out a letter. They sent out an official release saying fees will be implemented. Operational fees will be implemented from Mount Irving to Store Bay. The operators are saying they were not consulted. No conversation were had. And all of this stems from that unfortunate day on Wednesday, April 8th, where young Angelica Jogi unfortunately lost her life in a jet ski accident. But here the reef tour operators are. The letter was written by Shamfa Kojo-Lewis, now newly installed political leader for the People's National Movement Tobago Council. She wrote the letter after having a meeting with the operators who asked her to write this letter and invite the Chief Sec and the Secretary of Tourism to have this conversation with them. As they say, they feel lost. Some of them say they feel punished. Some of them are saying that they feel it is a top-down approach and they are being told this is what is going to happen, that is what is going to happen. We are not having any conversations with you. They are asking what can they do. In the meeting, statements like Should we get a new email? What should we do? How are we going to get the Chief Sec and the Secretary for Tourism, Zorisha Hackett, in a room to have a conversation with them? Well, this morning on Inside Tobago, we take a look and we listen. We hear what they have to say. We ask them some questions, but we also take a small tour and we see some concerns because they are saying that they brought issues to the Tobago House of Assembly, this sitting administration that would have served from 2021 to 2025. They brought the issues to them. The lone jet ski instructor on the island said he would have made proposals, he would have had conversations before and said, this is what needs to be put in place and I am offering my services. But his words fell on deaf ear. He said they never adhered to what he had to say or they never had a conversation with him until now when that young girl lost her life. So stay with us as we dive further into this conversation this morning and we hear what they have to say, and we also hear the plea that they are making with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and Secretary for Tourism Zorisha Hackett to have a conversation with them. As they say, this is a grassroots issue, and they need to be a part of the conversation and be at the table.
All right, so my name is Michael Frank. Vice President and PRO for the Strawberry Restore Association. This is important because this bill does not just affect just reef tour operators. It affects a very large swath of Tobago. We are talking about people who are operating from the people with vendors. We are talking about all fishermen. We are talking about just the general public who is going to use the marine space. So it's important that we have more clarification and more negotiation on this bill because it will pose a lot of problem for a lot of people in the coming years. This is not just about now, this is a generational thing. We have to make sure that the generation behind us actually reach someplace better than we left it. As we know, there must be law and order in Trinidad and Tobago. And by saying so, the state has the responsibility to maintain law and order. So if you say, okay, boats cannot operate in A, B, or C, you have to understand that you have to put things in place to make sure that boat does not operate in A, B, or C. So we can start from the boats. There are not enough equipment, or THA does not have enough facility to maintain a standard operation on the reef. And if the reef is to be opened, we are saying from in the morning till in the night, maybe 10 o'clock or something like that, there are not enough operators to provide security. Second of all, if there is an emergency, there are no response. When we say no response, there are no boat that can take people from the reef to shore. There are no ambulance service. There are no medical personnel. Fourth of all, THA always seems to have problems with everything. When it's not fuel, it's transportation. I used to be a reef patrol officer, so I work in the system, I know. And it goes on. In order for you to have proper operation, you need to have proper things in place. So you can't come down one and say, okay, you're not doing A, B, C, and you at the top is not doing nothing to facilitate A, B, C. Look, simple things as a slipway. They talk about, boats are not supposed to be pulled up in the back of Pigeon Point, which we actually use for generations. But no, you cannot put nothing in place for a boat to pull up safely on the shore. We still have to go old school, tractor, dragging down. So these are so many different problems. I mean, I can go on all day here and the problem will just keep piling up because they are not doing nothing to facilitate proper tourism. If you need proper tourism, you need to provide proper services. That's my take on it.
We are here this morning and we were looking forward to seeing the people who are supposed to be sitting here. Okay? And unfortunately, due to the time, the meeting started about 9 o'clock. We still haven't seen anyone to represent the people who are supposed to be representing us. And we will also ask for the whole of Tobago to ask to get a copy of this new marine bill that they're trying to pass, so everyone on the island can read through the bill and see if what they're saying is making any sense. Okay? Also, besides that, we the people you can see here, the congregation, we are the guys that upkeep the Marine Park space on a daily basis. Okay? And we will always continue to do that with love, because we love the community of Canaan, Bon Accord, and also we know we are representing Tobago. So we would please ask the relevant authorities to come and have a consultation with us concerning the bill, and let's see how much we can work on it and get things running smooth for the purpose of Tobago. Okay? All the best.
I think House of Assembly need to wake up. Yes, we know they're already in power. Who put them? We put them. They shoved that 5 years. But I think they need to wake up. The hand that put them is the hand that could remove them. Let me get that clear. Now we're going forward. This whole conversation, and I want to try to understand it. Couple times they had met with us. They had a conversation, right? There's a difference between conversation and consulting with the general public. There's a total difference. And then we started clear the air, because somehow I believe that whether we representative reach with us and we have a conversation, they're doing like consulting, two different things. When you come to have a conversation, we come and we have an audience. When your consultation is where you sit with people and we have things that we need to agree on. Nobody in ramming nothing down to be going and truth. So let we clear that. Reef belongs to the general public. And when I say the general public, I mean every Tobagonian, from Charlottesville to Concord, not just the boat only. We need to clear the air. And let me open it, because today it's time we let out something out of the bag. I'm going to be a little more straight. You see, this conversation we have in here could have been prevented. You know why? I am the only, and I keep reiterating it, I'm the only jet ski instructor on the island. I have given the House of Assembly many warnings. This shouldn't happen. They fail. And I'm here to tell them they fail. And I have a policy. If I am doing something and I think I'm going to fail, I'm just stop. And House of Assembly didn't stop. I remember I was in a meeting like this. And I said to them, this is going to happen. I explained my expertise. It's not that somebody just talking. I'm an expert in that field. Check my credential, see if it have anybody in that field. All it does when they're done, they say, I would like to have a conversation with you, and they take your name, I would get on. Never. And I'm going to say it again. It's going to happen if they don't put the necessary things in place. We're talking about markers. It happened. Is there any marker stating where the channel starts? So nobody would be in that bathing? The boatman have the rights. In a channel, as the law stated, he cannot deviate from his course. That is in the maritime rules. So if I am coming in a channel and it has two bathers, dead center, it means now I had either go into the marker and kill somebody or go onto the reef and mash up my boat. So we come back to the same thing. It is going to happen. I did not come here for party. I didn't come here for friends. I come here for facts. And I'm saying to House of Assembly, if they don't get an act together, we are going to get more problem. It is there, it's on the board. It's right there, written already. Anytime these things are not put in place, we are going to fail. And mind you, we know Tobago House Assembly are going to be sued, but they asked for it unfortunately, is a little child. I give rights, but this is something could have been prevented. It could have been prevented. No, Frankie the PRO rightfully said, right? Concerning the book of Reef. I asked one simple question. When that incident happened, how come Tobago House of Assembly had so much powers? They said they have no power. If I don't have no power, I don't allow you to do anything else. How come you could close the park? That is my question. How come you get that power all of a sudden? When the shot by the man in Plymouth, how you have so much power to close? And I've been lobbying, and this is not 5 years. This is over 10 years. Every time I come before a mic, I say the same thing for over 10 years. All who go in power, all who come out, all who come back. But at the end of the day, why did it fall on deaf ears? Now you have the power. Why a child lost their life? It could have been prevented. So for me, I am totally disappointed with Tobago House of Assembly. And when I said that with no apology, you know, I feel so embarrassed to know that Farley could say, don't want to have no consultation. They had a conversation. So it seemed like they don't know what is the difference between a conversation and a consultation. Two different. If they don't know, go to the dictionary and check it out.
All right, so Mr. Black, on April 28th, the Division of Environment, Climate Resilience and Energy would have sent out a release saying that look out for fees to be implemented. How is the association feeling about that? Because we would know for sure there was no consultation to say that you're going to have fees. So now you're being told to look out for it. What is the consensus in the association at this time?
Right. We already have a permit system, but it's not active at the moment. So if we have to operate in this space and pay for a permit, I don't see the need for any further fees, because that, in my opinion, that's duplicity, right? So we need some clarity with respect to fees and fines, because that's from all the way Mount Irving to Storby, no matter which area you operate from.
And the members within your association, they are not in agreement right now of this fee just being placed on them.
We're not in agreement at the moment, because it is something that is brought to us. No kind of consultation or conversation. So we would like to have the conversation and the proposal
And no,
before any implementation.
no ballpark as to where the fees will look like. You don't know if it's $500. No idea whatsoever.
There's no idea of the fees at all.
Thank you so much. All right. So, Mr. George, as it pertains to the Marine Park 2026 bill, this bill that is off to Parliament, was supposedly off to Parliament, and at least is going to catch this sitting before this parliamentary term is closed. My question to you is, you raised a concern saying that if we don't comb through the bill with a fine-tooth comb, we're going to end up back in the same position. Is it your stance that the bill does not cover particular areas for safety in the foreseeable future?
It definitely does not cover areas for safety in the foreseeable future. For example, I think by now a large percentage of persons paying attention already know that it has been proven that demarcation buoys were not out there where to demark which part the protected area according to the Marine Preservation and Enhancement Act begins, ends, continues, etc. And it's these buoys that could create the corridors and the spaces whereby you could reduce the chances of things going wrong. The bill, if you look at it, it has 51 sections.
And of the 51 sections, no less than 40 something of those sections speak to authority. This person has the authority to this, and that person has the authority to that. And you're going to very quickly realize, going through the bill, that everybody that has authority gains their authority directly from the chief secretary, meaning to say the administrator in charge of a particular division. Chief secretary has responsibility to decide which division is responsible for whatever. So he could handpick any of a multitude of administrators. It speaks to a tribunal for those who may feel as though they were disallowed to use the proposed marine park for an unjust reason. All three persons on that tribunal are directly chosen by the chief secretary, meaning to say, one is chosen directly by the chief secretary, one is chosen by the administrator, who the chief secretary chooses because he could pick any division to be responsible for the marine park. He could pick finance if he had so desire. He could pick health if he had so desire. And the next one is chosen by the secretary. And as we all know, he has complete omnipotent powers where choosing chief secretaries and responsibilities are concerned. So basically what the bill speaks mainly to, if the bill was to be worded in just one sentence or two, the one sentence or two would be this. From now on, the chief secretary is going to be responsible for everything in the reef. Understand that. Understand that anybody who is responsible for anything in the reef will be responsible for it because they have been appointed by the chief secretary. And by the way, we are a little bit concerned about the environment because the bill does speak to the environment, right? However, as I mentioned, 40 something of the 51 sections are towards authority. Environment, you're looking at about 3 to 5 sections. When it comes to safety, speaking directly to safety, if you have 3 sections, then you have a lot. And so the bill does not speak, and stakeholders need to understand this. The bill does not speak predominantly and hardly at all speaks directly to safety, which is the number one concern of stakeholders, be it the dozens of persons who provide services in this proposed marine park area, or even the tourists from Norway who is also a stakeholder visiting Tobago. And that is what we need to focus on. Lastly, I would say this. In any nation at all, the social contract that exists between a government and the people that they govern speaks to the government taking up both responsibility and authority. This bill speaks to authority, it does not speak to responsibility, and that's a big problem.
Finally, I want to ask you, do you feel as an operator that it is a top-down approach?
Not only is it, yes, definitely 100% a top-down approach, but even worse than being a top-down approach, this bill seeks to bring a completely private sector industry because the public sector, meaning the governments of Trinidad and Tobago, from 1970 to this day, has never done much, if anything, for this industry in terms of real tangibles like infrastructure.
So the boat and reef tour operators were looking forward to Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and the Secretary for the Division of Tourism, or at least the Assistant Secretary or a representative being here today. But we came in and we saw 2 empty chairs. The disappointment amongst them, of course, they would have aired such disappointment. What are your thoughts on their absence?
Well, it is unfortunate. The reef tour operators and the boat operators called on me last week, Friday, and they asked that I write a letter because they've been trying to get a consultation from the assembly. So they asked me to draft a letter on their behalf to hear their concerns, draft a letter. I did, and the letters were distributed on Monday. Representatives of the offices of the Chief Secretary and the Division of Tourism, they signed for the letters on Monday. When we didn't hear any response on Tuesday evening, I then reached out to Honorable Nikita Percy because he's the last person who met with them on March 11th, and he had promised a follow-up meeting. He then told me later last night that the Division of Tourism has a big meeting and they would not be available today. But I was hoping that out of a whole division, you can send a representative, or that the chief secretary would send a representative, but that did not happen. There's some who may say the notice was short, but for these guys, it's urgent for them. They have been trying to get a consultation for quite some time, and I think that they became very concerned when the chief secretary said no more consultation. They're saying no more consultation, and we didn't have consultation before. So my job here is just very simple. They called on me to try to get the attention of the assembly and the media so that their concerns could be aired and Tobagonians would be well aware of what is going on. And my advice to them is they cannot run the park alone, neither could the assembly do it alone. We all have to work together in the best interest of Tobago and Destination Tobago towards ensuring safety, security, and a smooth operations at the park. So I am offering to write for them again to see if the assembly would choose a date or recommend a date, but a meeting, a consultation where the assembly can explain to the operators the implications and the effects that this bill is going to have on their operations and their livelihood. I hope that happens soon so that the panic, so that the concerns, all of those could be dealt with appropriately and in a timely fashion.
Some of the operators here would have stated earlier that they feel as though it's been put to them. The fees implementation, yes. Well, the possible implementation, because there was a proposed letter on the 28th of April from the Division of Environment, Climate Resilience and Energy. They feel as though that is being put to them. The bill is being put to them. Everything is being put to them. It feels more like one operator told us earlier that it feels top down. What are your thoughts on that?
Now, I understand the seriousness and the urgency of the matter, especially for the Tobago House of Assembly in protecting and preserving Destination Tobago. But we must understand and recognize that these are the persons who are out there doing the work and getting the work done. And a consultation, a conversation is important. The April 28th letter simply says, we're going to implement fines and we're going to tell you when it's happening without any kind of conversation. I think that the operators deserve that level of consultation and the opportunity to make their input so that we can have smooth operations and the business could be done in a proper way and we can ensure the protocols of safety and security that we all require are instituted. I believe that the operators want the same thing that the assembly wants, and we as Tobagonians, we want top quality services at the Marine Park. We have to work together. We have to have that conversation, that consultation so we can move forward. It would be unfortunate for the bill to be passed at the level, it was already passed at the assembly without the relevant consultation according to the operators. It would be most unfortunate for the parliament to debate and pass without at least having a conversation with these operators as to how this bill can affect their livelihood, their lives, their communities, the business that they've been operating for decades.
And finally, so what is your message to Chief Secretary Fale Augustine? Seeing that he did not show today, he did not send a representative, there was no communication, and there was a room of frustrated operators. What is your message to the Chief Secretary?
I would recommend that the Chief Secretary reconsider and offer these gentlemen at least one consultation so that they can properly understand what is being proposed by the Assembly and they can offer their recommendations and their input as to how we can all work together in the best interest of Tobago, of the community, of the clientele, and Destination Tobago, most importantly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Now TV Tobago, your new home for reliable, credible, and in-depth storytelling. We're here to share Tobago stories with accuracy, integrity, and with the context you deserve. From current affairs and politics to culture, community, festivals, our heritage, sports, and climate, we bring to you the stories that matter and the people who make Tobago truly one of a kind. When you need reliable information, you can count on us. Now TV Tobago. Clarity, context, connection. Your Tobago, your stories now.
I'm standing in the Reef Marine Park. You're probably wondering, Lavian, where's the crystal blue waters or the emerald green waters? Well, it's right to the right of me in a big drain. And the beautiful color you see, it's actually sewage water. Well, at least that is what we were told by a few of the boat operators. They say this is one of their biggest issues. And here's the kicker. Not only do they claim that the Tobago House of Assembly is aware of this issue, but they say there are 3 like these, all being filtered into our beautiful mangrove and marine park. Here's what they had to say.
Right now, as we speak, this filtration system here is also going into the mangrove that goes into the Reef or the marine park as they claim, right? So at the end of the day, the nutrients that the corals rely on, right, you wouldn't be getting that because one, the switch gate hasn't been open. It's been totally disregarded for the last 30, 40 years, right? And on top of that now, you're killing the mangrove, you're cutting down the mangrove, right? You have these things like these going into the mangrove, which is creating ecosystem havoc, if that is a word, right? It's applying a lot of pressure on the mangrove. So they shouldn't cast stone. These are things that the environmentalists and the people who in charge of marine and who want to talk about the caring about the ecosystem, they're supposed to be paying attention to this. You understand? And the representatives, both past and now, they already were briefed and warned in the past with regards to opening the switch gate. Yes, you said the one at Pigeon Point is going to be a little bit kind of, opening it might cause a little bit of discomfort to the general public because it haven't been opening in a while. But at least open the one in the back of Pigeon Point. Now, this not opening not only creates an environmental hazard, it also creates an environmental hazard on land as well. You understand? Because as you can see, every street we go on right now is backing up. So before one try to play the blame game, we all as Tobagonians have to be held accountable for our actions. Now, I'm not blaming anyone, but at the same way, the THA and the necessary bodies that play their part environmentally and tourism aspect of things should at least look into these things before they place judgment.
All right, viewers, well, that's it for another episode of Inside Tobago, where we go beyond the beaches. I want to thank you so much for choosing us. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking and following Now TV Tobago and the Social Gazette. As always, it's a pleasure to be here before you and keeping you updated with all things Tobago. Stay tuned to our pages as we keep you updated, as we bring you the necessary information and we have those necessary conversations. And of course, your host, Lavian, I always ask those direct and decisive questions. I'm going to see you right back here next week, Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. for another episode of Inside Tobago, right here on the Social Gazette and Now TV Tobago. Wishing you a pleasant day.
Welcome to Now TV Tobago, your new home for reliable, credible, and in-depth storytelling. We're here to share Tobago stories with accuracy, integrity, and with the context you deserve. From current affairs and politics to culture, community, festivals, our heritage, sports, and climate, we bring to you the stories that matter and the people who make Tobago truly one of a kind. When you need reliable information, you can count on us. Now TV Tobago. Clarity, context, connection. Your Tobago, your stories now.